Welcome to Fieldsports Britain. I'm here to meet a shooting star, Robert Gray, former editor of Shooting Times, Shooting Gazette and now campaigns director for the Countryside Alliance. And we're going fishing in northwest Sutherland, what we call the nearest corner of the British Isles, what people in London call the furthest corner. Rob and I have been coming trout fishing here for years. The fishing is let by the Kinlochbervie Hotel. We pick up supplies from the local stores, the London stores run by Owen Mackay. The best of the hill lochs here are above 1,000 feet and we camp among them. The scenery here is stunning, surrounded by the mountains Foinaven, which gave its name to the racehorse that won the 1967 Grand National after almost all of the rest of the field fell at the fence and now bears the name Foinaven. Arkle, which gave its name to a more distinguished racehorse. Like Foinaven, Arkle was owned by Anne, Duchess of Westminster, and the Westminsters own a lot of the land around here. And Ben Stack, where the Labour politician Robin Cook died on a walking holiday in 2005. The pink granite rock which forms these mountains is among the oldest on the planet at around 3 billion years. The hills have a special majesty. Fishing the dozens of peaty lochs here is a particular pleasure, partly because of the trout and partly because of the scenery. After a few days of getting the fishing out of our system, I get a chance to chat with Rob about his job and the role that the countryside is, or should be, playing in modern Britain.
I'm lucky, I've got a lovely family, I've got a job which takes me to fantastic and privileged places, and it's one of the best jobs in the world, but once a year for 4 or 5 days I love to come here to be in splendid isolation, or with friends, and it's just so beautiful. It's very dramatic.
Dramatic, not traumatic.
No, no, not traumatic. Not yet, anyway.
Well, my snoring can be quite traumatic. People say.
I couldn't possibly comment. But apart from your snoring, it's just fantastic. I've been coming up here for a decade now, and each time it just fills my heart with joy. It's just fantastic, and each lochen or loch, you can find new ones each time you come. Or you can revisit old lochs that you know, and what I like doing is bringing it down to sort of one man, one rock or ledge and one possible fish. So you've got this massive landscape, and you can really find a sort of the occasional overhanging rowan tree or a rock or a ledge or somewhere where there's likely to be a fish, and which is why some of my favourite writers like John Gierak, the US writer, and Plunkett Green here with Where the Bright Waters Meet, those guys really, it was all about them and the fish, and even it's just these sort of small scenarios that I absolutely love, and you could come here for centuries and never get bored.
I mean, there are thousands of lochs here, aren't there?
Yes, there are, and I mean, I've got 1 or 2 of my favourites, which I'll keep to myself, like all good fishermen. But it's just great, and I've got all sorts of flies which I like experimenting. The trout here have Catholic tastes, which is good for a sort of average fisherman like me, and they're not big fish, but you can. Most of them are half a pound, 3/4 of a pound. You can get the odd pound fish, pound and a half fish if you're very lucky. But for me, size isn't everything up here. If I want to catch big fish, I can go to a sort of a stock still water, which I do sometimes. But this, to me, it's just what it's all about, really.
Rob admits he's not the best fly fisherman in the world. He only got going with the sport a decade ago. So how has the fishing been for him on this trip? And is the Countryside Alliance embracing fishing as much as the other field sports it looks after?
Fishing has been really good. I mean, if I get a couple of what I call monsters, a pound and a quarter, most of your viewers will probably scoff at those fish, but for me, a wild brownie of a pound is just a joy to behold, really. Countryside Alliance has done a fair bit for fishing of late, actually. I think we've invested £250,000 in the last 3 years through initiatives like Casting for Recovery, which
what was that?
Well, Casting for Recovery we brought over from the States and helped finance and set up, and a wonderful woman called Sue Hunter runs that with another wonderful woman, Sue Shaw. And basically it's taken women who have or have had breast cancer, and taking them out on unique outdoor therapy courses whereby they can learn how to fly fish, and also they can receive physiological care while they're there with trained medical staff. So it's a fantastic thing. It's totally unique, and then that's one example. Another example is through our charitable arm. We've done something called Fishing for Schools, where already 350 children with special educational needs have, through the curriculum, gone on a course which is organised by Charles Jardine, a well-known fly fisher, and Charles is just absolutely brilliant with the children, and it's receiving great backing and from people like Robson Green and a whole host of others.
He's Robson Green, who did that fishing programme.
The extreme fishing programme on Channel 5, yeah. So and a housewife's favourite, I understand.
It looks like the Countryside Alliance has kind of grown up and are using phrases that government uses, whereas a decade ago you'd have been flying the flag for fox hunting and that was it.
Well, I'd still like to think we're flying the flag for fox hunting, but the Countryside Alliance has had to change and evolve. I mean, 2 years ago we won the Channel 4 Political Campaigner of the Decade, which was a great achievement, and we have to now live with the times. So, for example, we are still pursuing repeal, but we are faced with a different government. For the first time in its existence, the Countryside Alliance does not have a hostile Labour government trying to ban hunting. So we just have to ring the changes and try and work with the government that's in front of us.
You've got a big job in your hands with that. You've got to guide repeal through without them accidentally forgetting about coursing or stag hunting or something like that. After you've done that, and it seems likely that will take place during this Parliament, what will be the role of the Countryside Alliance?
Well, the role of the Countryside Alliance, I mean, if and when indeed we achieve repeal, and we're fairly confident it will happen, but obviously there are sort of bigger things like the economy taking place at the moment. When we've done that, then there's always going to be, hunting is always going to have its enemies, so the Countryside Alliance is a guardian of all those who hunt, and we have to protect hunts on the ground from animal rights activists. We have to educate more people. Education is a passion of mine, whether it's hunting, shooting, fishing, or any countryside matters, and this applies particularly to hunting. So there's plenty of work to do, and also we have to get in there and talk to these MPs of whatever political persuasion who weren't in the heat. They didn't feel the heat of the fire, 10 years ago. And these are new people coming in, and we need to tell them about the Countryside Alliance. We need to tell them about hunting and all of the other things that people expect us to campaign for.
So you feel you have won the political debate in all but name, but you haven't won the social debate yet?
We need to...
On the fox hunting issue, obviously.
I think we have. I think we have won the social debate. I think most of the polls show that the public don't think that the Hunting Act is working. So not everybody, of course, will like the idea of hunting with hounds. But the fact of the matter is, we have to continue to educate next generations to at least neutralise the debate and make people understand the arguments properly and put them in the proper context.
Are we seeing a new honesty in what the Countryside Alliance is doing?
When the Countryside Alliance started in 1997, we were pretty much playing catch-up on 50 or 60 years of bad PR. Somebody has said to me that in the 1970s, the department, the press relations department in the British Fieldsports Society, their policy was say nothing. So now we've gone way beyond that, and the work of my colleagues at the Countryside Alliance has been absolutely fantastic in the last decade, because we feel that we've changed the argument, and most national newspapers now, with I think possibly one exception, support repeal of the Hunting Act, and so and more of the public understand that this is something which shouldn't have been legislated against.
So you're a huge education movement now.
We're still a feisty campaigning movement, but I think with campaigning has to come education, because if you don't take people with you, then you're going to be in a corner trying to fight your way out again.
Well, we ran a piece about the rugby league player Kieran Cunningham going deer stalking the other day, and ITV picked it up, and he said that shooting a deer to him was more exciting, more what he wanted to do than 10 appearances at Wembley. ITV did a vox pop in the street, and people going, I think it's disgusting that he doesn't like, he goes out and kills poor little Bambi. And that's a huge mountain still to climb for you, surely.
It is, although one of the best pieces I've ever seen was a 2-page spread in The Guardian. Basically, when the main picture was of deer stalking on the hill, and they were putting that up as the most organic, free-range way to get your food. So I think in terms of, which is why we put so much effort behind Game to Eat, for example, because we know this is the #1 reason why the public will support shooting. So we put a lot of effort and finance behind Game to Eat. Because we think that that's incredibly important. So that's just one way by which the public can understand and probably support what we do.
Now, one of your jobs has been the shooting campaign, because you have this, I mean, partly because you have this background as editor of Shooting Gazette and after that editor of Shooting Times. The campaign for shooting, as I recall it, about 5 years ago, was not quite up there in giving a tin to shoots to raise money. You know, the Game Conservancy seemed to be at the top of the pile and the Basque second. What have you done about raising its profile, and what is it actually doing?
Well, we've got an extremely strong political media and campaigns department and a strong regional network. There's good knowledge of shooting within the Countryside Alliance. Over half of our members are shooters first and foremost. So that's a good start, but we need to do more. And what we've been focusing on over the last 5 years is changing public opinion, because a lot of organisations are very good at sort of talking to their own members. We have to do that, but we feel that how are we going to win this debate with education and so on, and we feel it's changing public opinion. And so we've done a lot of research into public attitudes towards shooting, and therefore we concentrate our campaigns on the areas: food, the economic argument, and accessibility. People think that shooting takes place behind closed doors, and they want us to be more open about it. So our initiatives, such as Game to Eat, promoting the economic argument for shooting, and things like National Shooting Week, that we're doing these for the #1 reason that these are the sort of things that the public will relate to, and therefore in future years will support shooting. So we've concentrated a lot of our fire on outwardly campaigning to change public opinion.
Game to Eat, is that about giving a brace of pheasants to poor people?
No, it's not. Game to Eat is about if we don't eat game, the argument for live quarry shooting becomes very difficult indeed. Game is free range, it's delicious, we all know that, all of us who shoot. But the fact of the matter is we need to get it into supermarkets. We do lots of things which may sound boring, like catering workshops, but we do those because we train chefs in companies like Sodexo, who then go off and put game on the menu, and they feed 1 million people a day. So by doing that sort of work, which perhaps your viewers may not know we do, we're actually helping get game out there onto the menu, and this is vital work.
Now, one of the reasons you're here in Sutherland, 1,000 feet up a mountain, nice long way away from the mobile phones, and one of the problems I think the old BFSS, the British Fieldsports Society, had in the 1980s was because, well, you're here for fun, and the BFSS always denied that fox hunting was fun, that it had something to do with pest control. And you've said a lot about the citizenship arguments and the conservation arguments and so on in favour of country sports, but are you able now to just come out and say we do it because we enjoy it, or does that argument not work?
Well, the argument works. I'm quite happy to say that I come to Sutherland because I enjoy fishing and I enjoy catching fish in the same way as I enjoy other field sports. But the fact of the matter is that if you just walk up cold to a member of the public and say, I really enjoy catching the fish or killing the pheasant, for example, then they're going to look at you quite strangely. But if you talk them through the arguments about why you're doing it, and explain that you can either eat what you shoot and so on and so forth, then I think you can explain it away. But we just have to look at the different ways in which we talk to certain people about it and don't assume knowledge. So somebody who has no idea about fishing or shooting or hunting, then you're going to talk to them in a different way than if they've been out shooting or hunting before.
Now, one last point. I saw you catch a fish yesterday with a fly I wouldn't normally use. In fact, not a fly I've seen up here. I believe you have somebody in the office to thank for that fly.
I do indeed, yes. My friend and colleague Tim Bonner, who is far better at tying flies than me. and he's been banging on about claret sedges, and so he very kindly gave me one or two of his own contraptions, which look a bit rough around the edges. Sorry, Tim.
Very like Tim,
but I constantly comment about my friends and colleagues. But Tim has very kindly given me some of these flies, and they've worked a treat. So thank you, Mr. Bonner.
And thank you, Rob. Another great fishing trip. If we want it, the wilderness is truly on our doorstep. For more information about fishing here, visit www.kinlochberviehotel.com. Just before we go, it's Father's Day at the weekend. Here's sporting shooter editor James Marchington with a good idea.
Pigeon shooting is absolutely the best sport ever. Never mind pheasants, ducks and partridges, pigeons will test your fieldcraft and shooting skills to the limit. Plus there's the satisfaction of doing a vital job of crop protection and putting top quality wild meat on the table. No matter how experienced you are, we can all learn from watching an expert at work, which is why we've produced this great new DVD, Pigeons the Expert's Way, with Andy Pye and Mark Gilchrist. Andy and Mark both shoot thousands of pigeons every year, in all conditions, over a wide variety of crops. We go out with them on 2 very different days to uncover their secrets. Just how do they consistently bring pigeons within range when less experienced shots would struggle to fill the bag? You'll see how they pick the right spot, set out their favourite decoy patterns, and build an effective hide to stay concealed but still shoot freely. There are tips on decoying pigeons the old-fashioned way with just dead birds and sticks cut from the hedge, as well as using the latest motorised flappers and rotaries. Mark Gilchrist puts on his chef's hat and shows us how to pluck and prepare a pigeon, then turn it into a delicious, wholesome meal. And we review guns, cartridges and clothing from our sponsors, Beretta, Fiocchi and Jack Pike. It all adds up to essential viewing for any pigeon shooting enthusiast. The video is professionally produced by the guys behind Fieldsports channel and costs just $17.95 plus postage for a full 76 minutes. To order your copy, just log on to www.marchington.com.